Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the July Norms event. This is round number 5. I've got 2 points out of my first 4. Before we jump into the game, as always, friendly reminder, all courses, 33% off. All you got to do is use the code SUMMER. At least it's summer here in New York. It's like a bajillion degrees. Every time before I record a video, I have to run that air conditioner for about 15 minutes because I have to turn it off when I make a recording because it's loud, really loud. And it gets insanely hot in this room during the video. So this game was extremely frustrating. And you might think, oh, well, that means that he lost or he didn't win. It's not so simple, all right? It's not, I wouldn't make it as easy as that. First things first, my opponent is rated 1948. Now, let me tell you something right now. Some of you are nowhere near the rating 1948, all right? 1948 is the most deceptive rating of all time for my opponent. Let me tell you why. He's a young guy. He's like 17, 18. He's from Thailand. And he hasn't played a FIDE-rated tournament since 2020. And he has not lost rating in like 3 years. This dude, like, the last time that my opponent lost any rating points in the tournament was June 2019. Since then, plus 50, plus 30, plus 20, plus 70, plus 60, plus 15 last month. This dude is like a 2200 level player sitting in a 1948 FIDE body or official rating. It's ridiculous. But he isn't having a great event. He's half out of 4. He drew 1 game, and he lost 3. And all I knew about him is that he is really solid. Like, I swear I heard him offer a draw in like all his games. Like, I was like, okay, well, he's a solid player. He's obviously okay with draws because he's playing, higher rated players. And he plays the London. So, it's like the equivalent of going to the dentist for a chess game. In the first round, he played a Caro Khan, but he played exchange. So it became like a London pawn structure. So he played d4. I didn't prepare a whole lot. I ate and rested. And then he played knight f3. See, had he played bishop f4 on the second move, like the fast London, I was ready to play like aggressive lines and take some risks. But knight f3 is so boring. And like, if he plays bishop f4, maybe I would get to play c5. Or maybe he would play this, which is what he played, but in a different move order. We had this position. And the point is that you actually avoid a lot of stuff here because sometimes in the London, there is bishop f4, c5, e3, and then various queen b6 lines. And also I haven't blocked in my bishop yet. But by playing this move order, you give yourself the extra option to play d takes c5. And that's what he did. And I was actually kind of happy to see this because now we're going to get an imbalanced game. We're going to get a very interesting position. We're going to get a fighting game. So I try to win the pawn back. It's like a reverse Queen's Gambit accepted. He defends the pawn. I try to undermine the pawn with the move a5. He plays e3 here. You really should go e3 so that you can get the bishop out to b5. There's really not a lot of useful moves here for white. Like, for example, if you play bishop b2, that looks smart, but I have b6. And if you, at the end of all this, I will be winning my pawn back. And just so you folks understand, the fact that white has an outside pawn doesn't mean a whole lot. Black is just much better here. Like, that pawn's not going anywhere. And he was playing all his moves really quickly. Now, I don't know the theory here. I do remember there was a game between Fallujah and Wesley So in one of the online events, but I don't remember how it went. And he rattles off all of these moves basically instantly. Like, he doesn't even spend any time. So clearly, he probably has some chessable course. I don't know. I think there was like a recent course even made in all this. But the amazing thing about this position is that it's actually like a reverse note boom. So pause here for a second. I'm going to show you, like, look at this. B and A passed pawns, right? C, D, E, like big center. There's a line that black plays against the Queen's Gambit, like this, called the triangle defense, where you have DC. It can be like A4, bishop B4. The move order isn't the most important thing here. Yeah, this is a real line. This is called the note boom variation, or that's not really how you pronounce it. But notice the eerie similarity that I have B and A pawns like this, right? And then white has this big center. But there's a bishop pair, and the person with the passed pawns like has a fianchettoed bishop. In the game that you're seeing, I don't have the bishop pair because he literally just traded it. So we're playing a similar structure, but without the bishop pair. And also, I'm sitting there like, I thought this dude was super solid. Like, what is this opening? You know what I mean? And here I thought forever. And I thought forever because I just didn't know what the heck I'm supposed to do. Like, my first idea was c4, you know, to go like bishop b4, knight c5. But in the long run, I didn't know how I was going to blockade these pawns. I couldn't, I don't know. I've never played this line with like in this particular setting. So then I started coming up with really exotic ideas, like playing the move g5. And obviously, if knight g5, and this is honestly, this is like why sometimes I joke that I'm basically like a Walmart version of Richard Report, because if you leave me unattended in a position, I'm gonna do something wild, you know. And I assume that I know the rating difference is not truly 400 points. I'm like, I'm probably gonna outcalculate him, right? I'm a good player. Like, let's believe in our intuition. Plus, this is not playing to his strong suit, is what I'm thinking, right? Because I've seen some of his games. He likes to keep it solid, right? And the idea is obviously rook g8, but he's not going to take. And if he doesn't take, I thought, you know, he'll just castle. And I actually thought that he would blow up my center here. And I don't know. I wasn't super convinced. So I decided to play bishop d6 and table the idea of going g5. And then he played bishop b2, and I was like, nope, we're going g5. I could have played g5 on the last move. Now, the most insane thing about the move g5, which I thought inventing over the board was like absurd and stupid, it's been played by super GMs. Like, I actually sat there unattended and found a move that like a bunch of 2700s have played. Grishuk, I think Vidit has played this. Lequang Liem, I think was the game. Liem Vidit from like a Blitz tournament. I think it's been played by Jeffrey Xiong. So listen, yeah, your boy actually, you know, coming up with some really interesting ideas. Now he plays e4, and this was a critical moment because I can't take with either thing because I'm going to lose some material. Here I came up with what I thought were absolutely brilliant calculations. I haven't reviewed them yet, actually. I'm going to analyze them. So I thought that after g4, if my opponent plays e5, that I have this absolutely amazing idea to take the knight. He takes my bishop. And then here I was considering playing d4. Now, you might say, well, what about this? Yes, I saw this as well, but I thought it wasn't so strong because he can just win my pawn back very quickly. The computer finds knight e4 here, though, which is a nice idea to play queen a5 check. Admittedly, from a distance, I did not see knight e4. I will tell you what I saw. I saw d4, queen f3, and knight e5. And I was like, yo, this is a nice position because I'm going to get my pawn back. His bishop is totally blocked out of the game, and I'm just going to march my pawns down the board. Have you ever seen 4 passed pawns? A, B, C, D, just nobody blocking the pawns at all. I thought if he castles rook g8, he's definitely going to get mated here. So he didn't play that. He didn't let me have my fun. He went back to d2. And now again, a very critical moment. An unbelievably complicated position. Like, what do I play? And if you let the engine run here, it legitimately thinks black has 6 options. It thinks that I can play castles, which I thought was bogus, queen c7, queen b8, c4 to try to play knight c5, knight d3, not right now, but just the general idea, d4 to block out the bishop, but I didn't want to allow knight c4. h5 is apparently another idea, just, you know, in case he castles, just we have queen b8 ideas to go after him there. Yeah, I went with queen c7, which prevents e5, and also prevents castling because there's bishop takes h2, and then I'll play queen f4, queen h6, and checkmate him. So I thought queen c7 was a really nice move. The other option is queen b8. The difference between queen c7 and queen b8 is that I keep an eye on the b pawn. When I keep my queen on c7, I keep an eye on the a5 square, but when I go here, I don't care if he prepares a5, I'm paying attention to that, right? So that's another idea. And I mean, there's also, I can even trade this, okay? I can even trade bishops with him, okay? The position is literally like infinite, which is why it's so frustrating. Because when you sit there, you just don't know. You ever go to a restaurant where like 6 things on the menu look good? I mean, it's like one of those things, but except it's a competitive setting, okay? Like when you're at a restaurant, you don't think it's a tragic missed opportunity. In a game, you do. You think that you're not calculating fully in the right direction. So I'm like, okay, I got to play a little faster. Queen c7, queen e2. I was down like 40 minutes in the opening because I just hadn't woken up at all. And he played queen e2, which again was so solid. And here I overthought it, okay? Here I overthought it. Here I had 5 options that I wanted to play. So he wants to take and not let me take back with my pawn, right? He wants to pin me. So my first option was king f8. Actually, I hovered my hand over my king. I wanted to play king f8. When I realized he can play an impossible looking move here. He can play a5. That's a problem. Because after rook a5, queen a5, he forks me. Or he takes, and then forks me. And I was like, wait a minute. Now, the computer thinks that I can just be down a piece. Somehow, it's not convinced that white is even winning here. I'm like, I'm losing a piece, okay? That's bad. It thinks it's like plus 0.3. So my original idea was king f8. When I realized he has this absurd move a5, and e5 becomes an idea again. It hadn't been an idea for a long time. So I was like, oh, I can't go king f8, right? So I thought about bishop e5. And then I thought, takes, rook a3, and he is going to take on d5. That is his idea. So if I try to play c4, knight c5, knight d3, he will take. And I was just not convinced that I was better here. I was not convinced I was not worse. Why was I not convinced? Because, like, I mean, he'll go here. He'll try to bring his rook. He'll bring that rook to d1. He'll bring his knight to c3. I thought his pawns actually felt more stable here than my own. Because if I play knight c5 and try to get my knight in, you know, his rook is coming. Like, I don't know, even over there. And yeah, Stockfish actually agrees with me. It actually, bishop e5 was the move played in that Super GM game between Liam and Vidit. In fact, all of this happened in the game between Liam and Vidit, which is insane. 17 moves we almost followed another 2700 level game. But I rejected this line because I thought it looked bad for me. I was like, this is so frustrating. I'm coming up with all of these brilliant ways to complicate the position, and yet at the end of the day, it's 0-0-0. There's nothing that I can do. We're gonna end up trading pieces. I mean, I was coming up with like king e7. I was trying to find a way to, like, you know, get my king toward his pawns. It's just always equal. I can never find an advantage anywhere. So I said, you know what? No, we're not going to play bishop e5 either. Maybe we're going to go h5. Okay, h5 is an interesting idea, but h5 he just takes, right? So then I thought, okay, well, I can still castle, but I don't want my king here, you know? And he still has a5. So what do I do? What do I do? So I played rook g8. Rook g8, in my opinion, allowed a5. But the idea there was I was going to take, and bishop f6 here, e5. I think I was going to play, oh my god, yeah, I was not going to play what the computer was going to suggest. Knight h5, what? Oh my, what? Queen b5 and this is mate! Oh my goodness, that's mate. And the rook protects the pawn, because otherwise the queen would have taken. That is why rook g8 enables that. That's insane. I did not see that. If he had played a5, again, I was inviting him to complicate matters. I was actually going to do something like this, like queen b8 or something. I was going to play like super, super risky to try to win and like prevent him from castling and keep his king in the middle. That's incredible. Wow. But again, he played solid. He played a move I hadn't even looked at. Another thing I looked at here was ed5, then king f8. Threatening to take with the pawn. And then if he does this, rook e8, pinning the pawn to the queen. And this would be like, you know, an idea. Bishop h2 here, rook e6, and then swing my rook over and then mate him. I had this completely like insane idea. Like rook g8 takes king f8, sacking both my center pawns and then playing rook e8. That's why I played rook g8, which was not a good move. But it was very provocative, like super provocative. I'm trying to get him to go here, trying to get him to go here, trying to get him to go here, just waving the red flag, you know, in the face of the running bull. And he just plays g3, like doesn't let me do anything. And again, like the longer I delay, not, you know, if I play like h5, right? He's just gonna castle. He's trying to castle. He's also trying to play ed. And then if I go for this whole same idea, we have the same situation, but now he can castle. Now there is no bishop h2. So I only win one pawn back. Now I'm just down a pawn. I still wanted to play this though. I was like, I'm gonna sack, and then I'm gonna get my knight out, and then I'm gonna go here. Thought this was like an interesting idea. Probably in hindsight, I should have played h5, but there's always a5. And the longer I stall at some point, you know, so I said, man, my time is running low, 15 minutes on the clock. All right, let's just trade, fine, takes. But I didn't take with the queen. I came up with knight e5. And I thought, big brain of me. I have an interesting idea here. First of all, I can take like this, but I don't really understand why my knights are doing the battle, because he's just gonna castle. Yeah, computer here finds knight f4, which I did not see. It's not winning, it's still all equal, just like all of chess is. The point is that if takes, I have knight f3 check, king g2, queen f4, rook h1, and I guess this is like a draw somehow. I can long castle here on move 22. Yeah, instead I came up with knight f3, and I was like, wow, look at me. I am so clever. If he takes, I have this, and I'm winning his rook. Look at this, knight f3 check. Oh my, what a move. I am so good at chess. Then I realized he has a defensive resource, which is danger levels. And the point is that now he hits my rook when we both make this trade. Now the incredible thing about the move d6 is he played it and he offered me a draw. I was like, bro, what? Like I said in the beginning of the game, I've seen him offer draws to players in this event. But why is he offering me a draw in a position of strength? Like, I'm sitting there so confused. I'm like, what is he doing? Why is he offering me a draw? Which made me think he's not 100% confident that he's going to win in the crazy tactical position that ensues, right? So, I mean, by the way, I have queen a5 check here, but I didn't see the move here for black that would, like, hold the game. The move is rook g4. I didn't see that. And to be honest, if I play queen a5, rook g4, maybe I do go on to win, because I feel like I would be picking off some pawns here. But it's far from over. Instead of that, and queen b7 doesn't really do anything, because he'll just go here and castle. So I took the pawn, he took, I gave him a check, and then here I thought I was, again, genius, because I have knight e4, blocking his queen and threatening his rook. And I calculated rook a3, rook g6. This was my idea. And I thought this was super strong. Rook f6 is coming. You know, he has to defend f2. He can't really go here because rook a4. And suddenly that pawn, I take it, and I'm defending my knight. I thought, oh, that's it. I'm going rook g6, rook f6. Here we go. And if he plays rook a2, rook g6, I have queen d5 attacking the rook. And if he moves it, then I have rook a4 again. So I was like, I'm feeling good, you know, and now the time has gone from 45 minutes to like a 1 minute gap separating us. I'm like, oh yeah, he's gonna move his rook. Here we go. And then I'm gonna play rook g6, rook f6. And my man gave me his rook. I was like, what? He gave me his rook and let me take here. Do you know why he did that? Because it's a draw. Because if I go here, which is the best move, it's a draw. I cannot escape perpetual check. I mean, I can go here and like get pinned, but I don't know. This seems a bit miserable. Also, I think maybe he can play queen e5. But I was like, oh my goodness. He has a draw everywhere I go. I'm trying to win, all right? We both got like 8 minutes. I don't care if I'm going to take some stupid risks. I'm like, he offered me a draw in a better position. I'm going to take some risks. Hopefully he doesn't, you know, he's not going to find a way to win. I got to win the game. Look, what are we doing? What are we taking draws? We got a lot of pieces on the board, right? So I play here and here. Very risky. He plays knight c3 attacking my queen. I go here. Suddenly I'm like, am I getting mated? Like straight up, I'm like, yo, am I mated? This looks kind of suspicious. Now here, I thought I should play rook c8. I rejected rook c8 because, to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure. I guess I thought queen d6, but I definitely should have gone here first because this move loses the game. All right, now I'm in serious trouble after queen f5 because of this. Now I thought that I could still hold here. And you know, I mean, it's losing if you look at the engine. It's really not losing if you play it with a minute on the clock each. because I thought I can just danger levels the queens, right? I didn't know which rook I should move, like G or A, and I had very little time to decide, so I decided to move this one. And I always have the idea here, for example, to run my king. So I wanted to like hide my king in the corner and just be up my material and try to convert. The problem is, though, I'm just losing. Like, this entire idea to just, you know, get checked a million times, because I'm trying to avoid a draw. What I'm not trying to realize is that I'm actually dead lost. This pawn is much stronger than I thought it was. I thought that I can always stop the pawn, but then he checks me and brings his knight, and his king is a million times safer than my own. So I'm losing. I'm actually just completely lost here. Like, not here, but I was losing at multiple points during this kind of standoff where we both had no time. And then here I played queen b3, and suddenly he finds this move, which, again, I did not see for some reason. I don't know. And here I found the only move. So if I play rook g7 here, he has check, king here, and I just assumed he was winning somehow, like maybe h5, queen f6. Like, he just takes all my pawns. My king is just an idiot. And I found the only move. And I played this move with maybe 5 seconds on the clock or something. Or no, I played the next move with 5 seconds on the clock. Almost lost on time. I found this amazing idea, rook g4. The point is to wrap around and to stop the pawn this way and cut off his knight. And I was super happy I found this move. Here he found one of the best moves. He found queen c5. I thought queen c5 actually almost blundered the game away because I thought I had queen b4. And after queen b4, he's in some serious trouble, but he has a check. And he will win my pawn on e6, and yeah, I'm no chance I'm gonna hold the game there. So I played this move with 5 seconds on the clock, and it's a losing move. It's a losing move because it allows his knight to gallop into my position. And again, I have no checks, and yeah, I mean, generally you play a move with, you know, 5 seconds on the clock, you're gonna lose the game. It was just a bad move. I should have played f5 if I did anything. Now I'm losing. But luckily, he snatches a draw from the jaws of victory, and we repeat moves. The reason the final position is a draw is because I cannot block the check because he would take my rook, and he can't really do anything because I'm going to win his pawn. But what's amazing is that I'm actually losing here if he plays knight e4, which I did not even consider. I mean, we both have 30 seconds on the clock. The point is that if I take, now he goes back and he actually queens, and I'm just dead lost, which is amazing. And the most incredible thing about the game is, like, I offered him a draw, and it was clear that we were going to repeat moves, and we shook hands, and he goes, like, immediately, he goes, "I was winning, right?" I was like, I mean, man, I probably, like, yeah. And I mean, that was one of the reasons it was so frustrating. It was, my opponent was totally okay with 2 results. You know what I mean? Like, if I could, like, maybe I should have taken the draw, you know, maybe I should have taken the draw way back and not tortured myself here. But I smelled blood in the water. I was like, maybe he's going to implode, you know, maybe he's going to get nervous. Maybe he's going to do something crazy. And, yeah. It was just, that's why this game was so frustrating. And the worst part is, he's like, he's not 1950. He's a 2150, maybe 2200 rated player. And now I lose like 5 points or something drawing to him. It's, oh my God, it's so frustrating. Yeah, so, I mean, he'll gain some points from the event, but yeah, this whole game was just so frustrating because I spent so much time calculating all these amazing variations, none of them happened. Almost lost the game too. Anyway, I'll see you all for round number 6 and 7. Hope the recap was enjoyable though, even though the game was pretty frustrating. But yeah, catch you in the next rounds. Get out of here.